Welcome to Stateside Gooners, an Arsenal FC show, the podcast where American Gooners get together to share insights, rants, and the latest on all things Arsenal. I'm Eric, joined by my co-host Matt, and every week we're here to break down the highs, the heartbreaks, and everything in between as we ride the Arsenal wave from across the pond. Here we dive deep into the nitty-gritty of what's happening on the pitch and beyond. Whether it's those nail-biting match recaps or the tactical decisions we're all debating, we're covering it with the intensity and passion of fans who live and breathe the red and white. From big-name transfer rumors to some of our favorite deep-cut Gooner trivia, we keep it real and relatable. So grab a tea, coffee, or pint, settle in, and join us on Stateside Gooners as we bring a fresh American perspective to our beloved Arsenal. Because win, lose, or draw, this is where our Arsenal family meets. And hey, if you're enjoying the show, don't forget to subscribe, rate, and share it with your fellow Gooners. Your support helps keep this Arsenal conversation going week after week. Let's kick it off. Okay, season 1, episode 39.
How about that?
This week will be episode 40. That's crazy. What a week we
It's
had.
wild. What a crazy weekend. Absolutely crazy weekend. How'd you enjoy that?
Well, interestingly enough, to be quick about it, I work at the Lego store on the weekends for fun. And there was a kid that came in. So I put my phone and my watch, my Apple Watch on airplane mode. So I wouldn't get any updates because I had to work. I would have only been able to watch about half an hour of the game. So I'm at the store. I'm talking to little kids about their Lego sets and grown-ups about their cars, whatever. This kid comes in, 15, 18, whatever, and he's got a Real Madrid shirt on. And I'm like, oh, you guys lost to Espanyol. And he's like, yeah. I'm like, you know, the game that I'm an Arsenal fan, and so and he goes, oh, you guys had a great game, you won, it was a blowout, and I was like, no. I said, don't say another word, so because I didn't want to know anything. So I watched it last night, hours after it was over, thinking it was going to be a surprise when I planned it all, but knowing they were going to win, but didn't know anything else. So, but I was super happy, except also kind of frustrated because I found out ahead of time. Anyway, what about you?
Yeah, I'll tell you this. This house has never heard me shout as loud as I did. I was really, really impressed
I've never seen you
how we
yet.
played. Oh my goodness.
I've never seen you yell out loud. Sometimes when we're at the pub, you're even quiet.
Oh, this was a little different. Yeah, what a great game. Great game to watch. Really, really good game. You want to get into it?
Let's,
So
well,
tonight,
so yeah,
so
go ahead.
you so on this episode, we're going to talk about, obviously we've been chatting a little bit about it, Arsenal and the Sinners. We're going to talk a little bit about why should we? Why do we even talk about it? The open window. Then we're going to talk about the other half of the Arsenal Man City matchup, which this is the second time this season that this has happened. They played on the
Spuds.
same weekend. They played each other on the same weekend in September.
Oh,
Man
Man
City
City
and
it was?
Arsenal. Yes.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Both the women and the men. They played each other on the same day, just in opposite towns.
I thought it was Spuds, but that's funny.
It's
Interesting.
weird. I just find that weird. And then we'll wind up with some quick things. And there is no but first tonight.
No, more important to talk about this than those other guys. I don't even want to
You
say it.
betcha. Don't even want to talk about
Gunners
it.
lineup. Any surprises? I was surprised by MLS. I think that's about it.
I was surprised exactly the same. MLS. Uh, Great to see him in there.
What does it say about Kala? What does it say about Ricky that MLS started over him?
Well, Eric, I think it's a matter of you're playing the hot hand at this point, and MLS is just, he has been on fire for the last 4 or 5 games, doing just really, really fun things and
Right.
displaying all of his talents and skills. So I just think it's a run of form type of thing for MLS right now.
I was surprised we talked about, I didn't think Marmoush would start. He did because I thought KDB would be in there, but at least to start the game, Marmoush came in. He was really good too.
Yeah, and it's clear why he started over KDB when KDB came in the game at the end. It was like, oh, who's this guy?
right?
That was really weird.
It was. It was weird.
He's a shell of himself.
Just want to go through real quick because we talk about PGMOL. I think we had a good guy, not necessarily a great team of refs, but Peter Banks has refed us 4 times before this game. We've only gotten 4 yellow cards. So that comes out. You get one. We talked about this a few like months ago, but 1 point for a yellow, 2 points for a yellow, yellow, red, and 3 points for a straight red. And we only have 4 points in 4 games from Peter Banks. So really good. I think we only had one yellow or
Well,
two.
now, Eric, it's it's only 4 games. He hasn't got the memo yet.
Yeah, this is true. Paul Tierney was the VAR. He's got the second most out of active refs points per match. So lucky he didn't have any decisions to make because he probably was
Right.
trying to find them.
He would have tried to find them, desperately tried to find them.
And yeah, Anthony Taylor was the fourth official, and he has a very little impact on the game, but we know we don't like him.
No, we do
So
not.
surprise was MLS. I actually thought he was on a 1 game suspension, but I didn't know when it went from the straight red to a yellow that all of it went away. So that was a huge bonus for
Oh,
me.
absolutely, absolutely right, Eric. It was great to have him available instead of having him have to sit on the bench. And yeah, he turned out to be quite the difference maker. We'll talk about that.
Surprise for me was we got a goal from the defense and not where we thought we'd get it. We got 2 goals from the midfield, which you were asking for, Matt.
You
And we got
bet.
2 goals from the front line, one of those from a substitute. So that in and of itself, that sort of, and then Rice, of course, with 2 assists, proving again, even on the Odegaard goal, the one touch he had to Havertz one touch, we'll talk about that in a minute, but like his creativity was great, but I mean, it wasn't the only thing.
And we could have had many, many more. We'll talk about at least one miss, and Martinelli late in the game, he has an easy, well, not easy. He has a goal that he can make. So I mean, it could have been a whole lot worse for
The women's too, when we
sinners.
get to there, could have been the same, could have been
Yeah,
exactly the same. Well, let's jump into it.
you
Let's go
bet.
back and forth on some of these. So 2 minutes in, Stones, right? He passes to Akanji. Akanji fucks off with the ball. Uh, Basically, the ball ends up with Havertz, who sets up Odegaard. Tap in goal. Little tiny bit of a deflection, but lots of one-touch passes. We'll talk about that in a little bit. Great goal for Arsenal. I am so glad that Havertz saw Odegaard and didn't try to take that shot.
Oh, I am thrilled that he did that. I know that some announcers were giving him guff about that, about passing up the shot and passing instead. But it was an easier attempt on goal, clearly. Odegaard was there, sitting there, calling for it.
Also,
Yeah,
that's the second one that's like that for Odegaard in a not very long period of time where he's looking to his left and he puts it in with his left foot a little bit, not exactly on his foot, kind of goes in off whatever it went in off. But I mean, two games, 2 goals in probably 3 games.
you bet, as long as it goes in. He needs to start seeing the ball go in the net. So this to get him hot for this last part of the year would be great.
So he was hot. A couple minutes later, what happened?
So Martinelli had the opportunity on a pass from Odegaard. Martinelli finishes, nice little chip. But what happened, Eric?
Yeah, he was offsides. But
Yeah.
man, we shredded them.
Yes. It's amazing the start that we had. We've been asking for quick starts, right?
We certainly
Asking
have.
for it all the time, and this was definitely it. But to only come away with that with one goal, oh well.
Somewhere around 10 minutes, the announcers who I know you weren't listening to were talking about, and it was John Champion saying how soft the Sinners are. And just the normal conversations we've heard over the years about our squad is that we're the ones that are soft. So we came into this game a side that really hasn't been thought of particularly as strong or unbeatable, but on this occasion, they were the vulnerable squad, and we were the ones who had already put the ball past them twice by the time it was 10 minutes gone. And these guys were saying this. So amazing. I
Yeah, you bet.
I saw this
And
thing. I'll take this one, and then you can, if you want, you can take the next one. But Marmouche basically was standing in front of the ball, and we've seen this happened before, right? So Timber kind of kicks the ball into him. I don't know if you remember seeing this. And the ref comes over to chastise Timber. What are you doing that for, guy? Come on, like whatever. And just kind of a little bit of a riot from all the people that were in the stadium. And only after that does he tell Savino to back off. So whatever.
Yeah, well, refs are gonna ref, right? I think it was uh so we had the first corner, it goes to the Sinners. Fantastic save by Raya. Guardiol's there to for a header. I mean, what did you think about that save? Have you ever seen anything like that save
It,
before in your life?
I
I
mean,
mean, that was
yes, because he's
crazy.
made those saves this year, so I can't say never. But I mean, his. I don't know how his reactions work. I don't know how that works. He just like it's like Superman fast.
He just popped that in the right place. I mean, sometimes you're as a goalie, you stop it, but you give up that rebound and it goes in the back of the net
Right.
because the guy's standing right there. And in this case, there was somebody standing right there, wasn't there?
There
Had that
was.
ball come down 6 inches in play, we were toast.
Right, because it goes off the bar and Holland is standing right there.
Yeah, right. To just nod it in.
Tressard was breaking people's legs again. I thought Marmouche was really active. He was making long dribble runs. We talked about the only one who kind of really gets those when there's open space is Rice, but he was doing a really nice job. Um,
Yeah, so as this went on, as the game continued to go on, Foden starts to play a more prominent role. He wanted the ball. I don't think he had a real good game. We talked a little bit about that earlier. And, and in this case, Foden, he blasted across it, hit Gabby in the stomach. I don't know if you remember this.
I do.
Gabby just sort of falls down, knocked the wind out of him, right? He's there trying to get Foden. Foden's there to help him up, trying to get him to
Yep.
get up, get up. Gabby would have none of it.
He
He
pushed his hand
ran
away and
right.
just kind of, I think he really did need to breathe a little bit because he did lay there for a
Right.
minute with his hands over his head. Yeah.
He was trying to get his breath back.
Holland had a little bit of a chance against MLS because he went from Gabby to Saliba back to Gabby, and then he ended up in between Gabby and MLS and kind of worked his way towards the edge like that because he couldn't get anybody else. So he's going against the short guy. Um, but I thought MLS did a really nice job. Holland got the header that he wanted to put it back towards the middle. But boy, I tell you what, that kid is strong. Um,
He really is for being such what you perceive as a little fella. Wow, he is very strong. He can
yep.
he can handle anybody.
So the Raya save off Savino.
Yeah, he Raya was on fire in that first half because he had to be. Frankly, he was very quick. He was all and for somebody who coming into the game, we weren't sure if he was going to play, the cat and mouse sort of thing. He did play, and thank goodness he did, because I thought he was absolutely terrific in that first half. Save after save after save. Um, yeah,
Second
one
half,
one better than the other.
second half, um, I thought that we got a little glimpse early on, right not long before Holland scored his goal, of MLS really having exhibited a skill set that we've needed for a long time in that position. And I think we used to see a little bit of it from Zinke, but like he's trusted by everybody around him. And again, against a really good opponent, because we saw this against Newcastle, I think it was, or whoever recently, where he gets the ball and dribbles between two or three players to take the ball without passing it into the midfield. And then
Oh,
he does these things where he bypasses the whole defense and midfield to put like a ball that just kind of strafes across the grass, worm burner, to get it to the forward so like I was shocked to see that, and I guess I shouldn't be anymore.
Yeah, I wouldn't be shocked to see anything that kid does at this point. He has just been absolutely tremendous, and he continues to get better and show off more parts of his game,
And he did in
as
a
you've
few minutes
seen.
after this.
Well,
S
well, at halftime, what were you thinking?
I
1-0.
predicted we both
What
predicted
did you
one
feel?
nothing. We both predicted 1-0. I thought City had most of the possession. I couldn't tell you how much. I bet they had 65%, maybe more.
Yeah,
And so
yeah.
I was like, this is how it was last year. This is how it was last time, where they have all this possession, and we get a little bit of a counter thing, and we're not great at counters. We talked about that last episode, but we get a little bit of a counter thing, and we saw some of those chances. Martinelli had a good shot in the second half, you know, breaking their trying to get out of the back. Havertz has that chance. The pass gets taken by Rice and gives it to him and he misses. But I mean, that's kind of what I thought. I thought we were getting chances on very little possession.
Yeah, and I think we're both in the same line of thought that we should have been up at least two at this point at halftime, and disappointed that we were not. Yeah, you can go back to the Kai miss as being the obvious one to point to, but sometimes that happens.
Yeah,
It's how you
and
respond.
our set piece delivery and our set pieces in general have been blunt. So I don't think we need to be, thinking about that. But so here we're one up, and 10 minutes into the second half,
Oh,
Holland gets, as he gets a header. It's a great cross, honestly, from Savinho, right on the back post, and he beats Saliba to the header. Saliba, basically, you see Holland jump, a lot of work for him to do, and Saliba's standing on the ground behind him, just looking up like,
and we hope Saliba learns from that because he needs to get his hands on that guy. He needs to learn from that, especially about who we got coming up on Wednesday. So he needs to hopefully he learns from that, applies that as
right.
we go forward.
How long did
Because I'll
that?
tell you, Gabby wouldn't have had that. Big Gabby would have had none of that.
Yep. How long did that
Oh my gosh. Could you did you Bing.
I couldn't even
All
count
right,
to
we're
10 on
back
my
up.
hands. Yeah, I couldn't
Life
count
is
to 10 on my
good.
hands. That was another bad pass from Foden you talked about earlier, but what did you think about that interception? How did it happen?
Oh, I'm just glad the referee was such a big fella. How's that? I party as they, kind of showed the replay because as I'm watching it, I'm thinking, why is he passing there? Thomas is right there. He clearly did not see Party at all. He could not have because the ref was, and then as they showed the different perspective, you can see from Foden's perspective, he wouldn't have seen him because he was right behind the referee. Referee's a big lad.
It was a
If
really hard touch from Thomas, and nobody got to it before he did, and he took it another 4 or 5 yards. And we know he's got that in his locker, but did you expect it?
Absolutely not, especially when he started doing the, sort of running up thing. I mean, he was like he almost had enough time to kind of tee the whole thing up. And as he's teeing up, I'm going, "Oh, great. Rosie.
Hmm.
See you later, ball. Have a nice flight." But boy, that was a ripper.
It
That
deflected
off
off
someone.
Stones. I think it
Yeah, I
went off
think it was
Stones'
Stones.
back, and Stones, I think, was there, and it deflected off him, off his like shin or calf on Odegaard's goal.
Hey, every now and again you get a little luck, if you want to call it that.
Right after that, John Champion said, "We've got a game with a bit more cut and thrust." I thought, yeah,
Is that?
you got it. You got it. And then walk us through what happened at 62 minutes.
So 62 minutes, MLS, and he's our left back. Somehow he's way up in their 18, and the Arsenal players have a little bit of possession over there on the left side. And then suddenly the kid breaks into the box, and Rice gives him such a wonderful weighted pass, showing his creativity. I think you've kind of pointed that
Oh
out here
yeah.
lately, that Rice is more than just that six patrolling things. And MLS does this little movelet, gets himself free, and boom, just powers that ball. Now I think we might have gotten another deflection there too. But
Just
it was it hit because it hit the post and went in. So it was a nice goal all around. It was terrific.
the movement again, like when we see these goals that go in and the movement is just perfect. I love to see it because too many times you see teams where the players are static, waiting for somebody else to do something and then get them the ball instead of moving. And he moved three or four different times, passing, receiving,
Hmm.
juking to his right, curling that in. If you watched from the angle right directly behind him, it was a really nice curl in and hard. So that was good.
And I also want to point out 55 minutes, that's when Holland scores. This is now 62 minutes, folks. We ripped off two goals and we're up 3-1 and things people are feeling pretty good.
Scoring goals in bunches.
Yeah.
And we had a
Feeling
chance with
pretty good.
Martinelli 5 or 6 minutes later.
Yes, Martinelli has the big chance, which he usually finishes those kinds of chances. All due credit to him, but he just couldn't pick that one up.
For the sake of time, we can sort of skip down. Havertz gets a goal.
Oh my gosh, that was quite the break that they had. Again, it comes off of an intercepted pass, and they did break this time.
They did,
Right.
and Martinelli was driving down the middle, and Havertz had a chance to go to Martinelli's left, and he didn't take it. He went all the way around his right side, and Martinelli dished it. And then when sort of everybody went past, he cuts back, puts it in that far post, and he had missed a much harder shot, a much easier shot earlier in the game. So for him to put this in after missing a really big shot, and we're going to talk about this sort of pattern here in the next game, but beautiful goal.
What a response from him to that miss, to that miss on the easier attempt.
Somewhere around
Yeah,
the
just
85th minute,
great.
somewhere
Yeah,
around the 85th minute, we had some subs come in before that, and the crowd started singing "Stay" this some sort of "Stay Humble" song, and I just thought that they're doing olays and they're singing this "Stay Humble" thing. I forget who the artist is. It starts with a K, but he's got a song about it, and they're singing it, and it's hysterically funny. You could look it up online. Kendrick, something like that. Anyway, I wrote Matt as we got into extra time. I said, not that it matters, but another one would, because remember, I knew we win, but I didn't know what it was going the score was
oh,
actually.
right. You had no
I had
idea.
no idea. So I just knew that we were going to win. So I was like, not that it matters. And this is probably like 91 minutes I'm typing this. Not that it matters, but another one would just be sprinkles on top of the cherry, on top of the icing on the cake we got today. And I wrote that. And then I'm like, I just finished the period and I'm like, holy crap, we got it. Because Waneri does what?
He does another Saka. That's the only way to call it anymore. It's a Saka
It
night.
has to be.
Unreal, this kid. Unreal. A nice bender. It was so beautiful to
The
watch.
XG on that was
Stunning.
0.025.
Is that right?
And that's the same pretty much as
So
the one he
good.
scored a couple games ago or last game,
Yeah,
whatever.
so good. The little curler from just beyond the 18 after he, you know, drives toward the goal. Terrific. He is special. And Eric, the fact that we had two 18-year-olds score in this kind of a game, what's that tell you about the future?
What does it
And
tell you
you,
about
and you got the
City,
23-year-old that might come back.
right? What does it
Oh,
tell you
I
about
don't
City?
I don't know what it tells us about City, but
Can we put Rice in the six and put Odegaard and Waneri in the eights, please? Although
Someday
Thomas
it'll happen.
Thomas scored, Rice had 2 assists, Odegaard had a goal, Waneri had a goal. I mean, at some point you got to have subs. So,
True, you can't run their legs off. We need a
uh,
break.
player of the game.
Uh, I, 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 for me, it's Raya, but I would always go ahead and extend it to Raya in the back four, just because they were so excellent. I know they did give up a goal, so no clean sheet, but still, they were just so good.
So Holland had a shot and he scored the goal. What else did they do in the second half in terms of shots? What was their funnel, their shot funnel?
Oh, I didn't look that up.
0 shots.
That's the extent of their funnel. The one shot is all
One
they get.
shot, one on
Mm,
target, one goal. They didn't have any
wow.
other shots.
Well, they were a bit ruthless.
Well, that's the whole second half. That was the second half. They had more in the first half, obviously, because Raya made 3 big saves, I think. But so where are we?
Where are we? So this is where we stand, folks. We are in second place, 6 points back of Liverpool. Liverpool, of course, have that game in hand, but they have to play that this Wednesday. And they're going to play that this Wednesday against a much improved Everton side. We did pick up more goal differential, so +4 on the goal differential. So we stand at +27 right there. Liverpool's game. So I mentioned this is Liverpool's February stretch. I mentioned Everton. They also have Wolves. They've got Sinners and they've got Newcastle. So they've got a tough stretch starting to come up.
Wolves were not easy for us, although we won. That game required, and
A
I guess
lot of
because
work.
because we had the
Red
the
card
the
was didn't
false
was
red card
helpful.
didn't
Hmm.
help. But I mean, we destroyed them, but only scored the one. They're not as bad as the record shows. So I think going to Everton and they're better, going to Wolves or wherever they're playing them, and then playing Sinners, even though it's a bad season, they still have the potential. They were on a run of games. They hadn't lost this calendar year until they lost to
Yeah.
us.
Yep.
And then Newcastle's always trouble. So, and we've got Matt Lester, who's, relegation fodder.
Hmm.
West Ham, who just replaced their coach too. And so I don't know how much we're going to be expecting from them. I think Bowen scored this weekend, so he's always a little bit of a threat. And then Forest, and we 3-0 against Forest last time, but I mean, anytime you play them this year, they're right behind us. So it'd be interesting. But I think we have an easier stretch because two things, it's 3 games instead of 4. And I think all 3 of our games are winnable, where I'm not sure, especially with their last 2. So we'll see.
Yeah, and it'll be nice to get a little bit of rest, frankly. These guys have been going every 3 days since Thanksgiving.
Liverpool has they lost their first leg because those are only Prem games. So they lost their first leg to Tottenham
Did they?
in in the Carabao. Yep. And we lost our first leg. So next up for us is Newcastle, and they're 2 up in the first leg after winning in our stadium. So now we have to go to their stadium, which is always tougher,
Hmm.
and we have to win by 3 clear goals. We've talked about that before. So, and then the winner of those 2 games, Spuds.
On to Wembley.
Yep, on to Wembley.
On to
Spuds or
Wembley for the
Liverpool,
final.
and us or Newcastle to the final. So I'd like us to get there. I'd like us to get there, and then I think it's never easy. The grass is thick, and the field is huge. It's much harder to play there because of some of those things. Players feel like they have heavy legs.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
Real quick, open window. So the old news looks a lot like the new news, or the new news looks a lot like the old news. No incoming players. So we Osimhen again, Vlahovic again, Sesko again, Gyökeres again. We embarrassed ourselves by making a terrible bid. I read 60, but it was actually 40. It felt a lot like Suarez, 40 million plus one.
Yeah.
They decided no in 7 minutes. I think it's a PR move to try to appease all of us to say Zubamendi is going to happen in the summer, but nothing now. It was weird. Zinke was supposed to go out, sorry, to
Yeah, he
Dortmund.
was.
Didn't happen. Tierney to Celtic, but they said we're not going to send you. You can go in the summer. Not sure why, but we sent Brian Okonkwo. His older brother was on a goalie for the academy, and we sold him for a little tiny bit of money to the Ryan Reynolds. Who's that again?
Oh, that Wrexham. Oh, who is Ryan
Yeah, we
Reynolds?
sold
Okay,
him to
cool.
Wrexham. Yeah.
Yeah,
And then
yeah.
Kukuri, who we've seen on the bench a few times, I think he's got 20 or 30 minutes in his legs on the field. He went to it's Bromley, who cares, but they're League Two. So,
Get some games, get some minutes against men. So yeah, that'll
what's
be.
your thought on nobody coming in?
Oh, it's disappointing to a large degree because you do want to see some help come in. Just give these guys are giving their all right now. They have been giving their all season long with all of the injuries, all of the ups and downs that we've gone through. Yeah, we're we've done lots and lots of things, gone through a lot. Maybe that galvanizes them. I don't know.
So,
See,
I have two thoughts on that. About an hour and a half or two before the end of the window, I had read that we were ready because Arteta is so desperate to sign someone. We were ready to pay over the odds, 58 million euros for Nico Williams. Would have been amazing, but surprise, nothing happened.
yeah, and this is all just clickbait stuff too, I think.
I
I mean,
think
who knows how much of this stuff is true?
there's a lot of conversation about, well, they scored five against Sinners. So, maybe this share the load angle, it's going to be okay. But I think when Arteta says it, when anybody else says it, it's shithousery PR. It's public relations that, oh, we'll just spread the load. But that's one game. I'd like to see that over 3 or 4 games, get Saka back, see what happens. But really needed a striker 2 years ago. We really needed a striker last year. We really needed a striker in the summer. We really needed a striker in January, and we haven't got it. So, I mean, we finished without a striker twice in second place as runners up, and I feel like we're kind of setting ourselves up to finish in
Again,
second place again.
yeah, and I think the manager has said it best. All of his investment in the club, all of the investment in the club since he has been here has been largely defenders and midfielders. We really haven't bought that striker. I mean, Kai is the striker by default. He really was purchased to be a midfielder for us. I guess the only exception there would be Jesus. He'd probably be the single striker that we've purchased. So yeah, I'd like to see a little more spent on the front line. Let's
And
get some goals.
everybody wants that. Sake of time, let's jump down to Newcastle with the Carabao Cup because we were kind of just talking about that. I think we're going there. We got to win by 3 clear goals.
You bet.
We know who they are. I think of them as flat track bullies. I think they're just bullies. Our guys are the ones who get called for fouls instead of them.
Somehow.
So we'll see. Yeah. I don't know. I didn't really look at injuries for them.
Not much there to talk about injury wise for Newcastle. In fact, they played, I think, their strongest side against Fulham on the weekend, and they did lose at home to Fulham. In fact, Derek, they have lost two of their last three games,
Wow.
including, you won't believe this, a 4-1 loss to Bournemouth
Yeah, we
at
talked about
St.
that a
James
couple weeks
Park.
ago because we said that it's possible to win by 3 clear goals, and Bournemouth is for real.
You bet. So this thing is still up for grabs. For me, keys are going to be how our midfielders play because the last few times we've played Newcastle, they have just dominated our midfielders for whatever reason. I don't know why. So who starts in midfield for you, Eric,
You
on
know,
Wednesday?
I mean, it picks itself. You talked about Havertz being, bought to play the left eight, but he's our striker. So
Mhm.
I think who we saw is who we're going to see again. We're going to see Odegaard, we're going to see Rice, and we're going to see Thomas. And that's
Yeah,
just how it's
I'd
going to be.
I'd run that same thing out there.
I think our defense, maybe Calafiori comes in instead of doing MLS again. And I don't know why I think that. I think maybe only because he's taller, although MLS did okay against one of the tallest guys in the league, maybe, or jumpers and all that against Holland. But I just feel like maybe we'll see Cala, we'll see Ricky.
I'm good with MLS and you'll hear why in a minute. But I do want to see him play in this game. I do want to see him start because I think he's going to be real important to containing that Gordon fella. that they have that runs up and down their right side. So I think he's going to be that'll be an important matchup, and
You know
I
that
want to start him.
that's a great point because
Hmm.
Gordon did a really nice
Kills us.
job against whoever we had. Calla was over there last time, and
Hmm.
but Party was on the right, so I think it was maybe no, it was Ricky on the left because Timber couldn't play. So it'll be interesting because I do think the back line that we had this past game, if they play against Newcastle, it'll be much better, much more
It's
contained.
it's a much different ask of Sir Isaac to try and score a goal against that back four.
We had Kivior playing
I
right
think
center back
so.
last time. So yeah, you know what? It's going to be a much different game. I think we can. I think you talked about a 3-0 when we talked about them winning 2-0, and I was saying we'd have to probably go 4-1 because a clean sheet would be hard. But you know what? This defense and Raya and not starting Neto, I
Not
think
starting.
I think it's possible. So what's your prediction? I know White and Saka are out. Not anytime soon, really, probably for either of them. A few weeks
Mm.
at least, probably after the international break. But what's your prediction?
My predictions, I say the game finishes 3-0 with MLS scoring the third so he can make Michael Oliver cry himself to sleep on Wednesday night. And the reason I say I single out Michael Oliver is, do you know who he roots for, who he supports?
Newcastle. And
Yes.
and I have so I'm going to bring it all the way back around. The game that well, who's your Arsenal hero?
Dennis Berkcamp,
So
hands down.
Dennis Bergkamp scored probably the best goal of his life
Oh,
against Newcastle. And I saw a little cartoon meme where young Michael Oliver is watching that game and his favorite player is that central defender. I don't remember the guy's name. And that game happens, and he basically says, like, screw you, Arsenal. Someday I'm gonna be a referee in the Division One, and that will be the end of you, Arsenal. And like then he just has this grudge. So it was a really funny.
that is funny.
It was really
That is
funny.
really
It
funny.
was that goal by your hero
That
that,
set it all
that
up.
set up Michael Oliver. I
Oh,
mean,
and
anyway,
listeners, if you've never seen that goal, please look it up. Please, please, please look it up.
I have some stats
Mm, awesome.
for the men, and I didn't share these with you because I want you to be amazed at these. So here we go. Arsenal are unbeaten in 17 straight games against the top six.
No way. Because that was such a struggle for such a long time. Being competitive in the games against the top six, not winning them, competitive.
Arteta, which means our club, is unbeaten in 5 straight against the Sinners, 2 wins, 3 draws.
That's so sweet.
Joint longest run by a single manager against Guardiola anywhere he's played.
Really?
Hmm This
So the
game,
apprentice is becoming the master? Is that
this game was the first time in the Premier League era that 2 teenagers scored for Arsenal. That seems like I can't even because we've had a bunch of teenagers that played, but two
I
to score in
guess
one game.
I guess ESR was probably too old at that because didn't I thought ESR and Saka had scored against Tottenham, but maybe Smith
One of
Rowe
them,
was a
yeah,
little
one of them
older.
was 20. Yeah, I don't
Yeah, a
know.
little older. Wow.
First time
Wow.
since 2007 that 2 teenagers scored in any Premier League game.
Wow.
Some of these stats I can't check, right? Some of these stats I can check. So I'm going off of social media, and I'm trusting to some degree that the research was done.
That something has been
So
done.
I'm taking these with, a grain of salt that I'm throwing over my shoulder for a little bit of luck here, but if these are true, these are amazing. So the Sinners had 1 shot, as we know, in the second half, and their 7 shots attempted was the fewest in a Premier League match this season. Now, I thought that was true when we held them to a certain number of shots earlier in the year too. That was their fewest shots in the season. So now we just upped our own record, if I'm right.
Pretty sweet.
So we scored 5 goals, none of them from set pieces or from corner FC. All 5 goals were scored from open play, and this last one I saved for because I think it's the best. So Waneri's goal was the end of a 36 pass uninterrupted pass sequence lasted a minute and 54 seconds, involved every Arsenal outfield player, and it was the longest passing move that led to a goal in the Premier League this season.
Did you say a minute? You said almost 2 minutes of possessing the ball?
We possessed the ball for a minute and 54 seconds. Every
Oh,
player, every outfield player touched the ball. It was 36
wow.
passes, and then he rips that 0.025 into the far corner like he's Saka or something. Who does he think he is?
Why not? Wow, I did not know that at all.
That's
Because
why.
at that point, I don't know that I'm paying a whole lot of attention except
What?
celebrating. I'm celebrating. This is great. I even turned on the announcer so I could
No.
listen to some of it, and I heard Lee's voice, and I just went, "Oh no, not him!"
He
Glad I
always
didn't
does.
listen.
He always does our games.
Well, thanks everyone for tuning in to Stateside Gooners Arsenal FC show. Every episode, we bring American Gooners together to dive into the emotions, the tactics, and all the action on and off the pitch. If you enjoyed the show, don't forget to subscribe, share it with your fellow Gooners to keep the Arsenal conversation going. Until next time, from across the pond, this is where our Arsenal community meets: win, lose, draw. We'll catch you next time. Thanks for listening.
Thanks, everybody.
And I don't think we talked at all about Big Gabby's celebration after the after the very first goal. Did he was so excited after that first goal was scored. He starts jawing a lot around Mr. Holland. He was very, very excited.
So there's
And
a couple. Yeah, there's
there's
a
a
couple
lot of
things.
history here,
There's a couple things we
right?
didn't talk about. Yeah, so he did that, and then after the game, Holland was pointing to the gold lion head on their sleeve that the champion, the Premier League champion, gets on their sleeve. So he was pointing to it, and we could nobody could really hear what he was saying, Holland to
Mm-hmm.
Gabby. So they had a lip reader come in, and the lip reader he
No.
said, "Yeah." The lip reader said, "Holland said, don't forget it. Look at it. Don't forget it. You love this, eh? Don't forget it. Yeah." And that's what Holland said to Gabby. So he can't shut his fat mouth. He's just making more chalkboard material for us whenever we play them again. It's just,
And for Gabby, I
I
mean, I
don't know
don't
why.
think Gabby
Yeah.
needs any motivation, but if you give him a little bit more,
The size of Gabby's pocket is huge to have him in it. So we didn't talk about this, and I want to bring it up. You talk about mental strength and whether or
Mhm.
not our guys have the mental strength to do the things that they need to do. So when you look at this, what are your thoughts about our mental strength? We go down because, or not we go down, but they equalize 1 minute later, 6 minutes later, we're up 3-1. We win 5-1. Talk about that.
So I would say if I'm talking about mental strength, I think this whole season has been very difficult for all of the players. Just all that they have gone through, these crazy decisions that go against them, the poor finishing that we've had happen throughout, the XG miracle goals that are getting scored against us, and for them to come through it, we're in second place, Eric. We're in second place. They have been mental giants as far as I'm concerned to come through this. We were without Odegaard for such a long time. Now we're without Saka for such a long time. It's it really does test them, and you're seeing players step up. You're seeing the 18-year-old kids step up. You're seeing Odegaard finally coming clean on his goals. So I'm encouraged by what I've seen throughout the whole season, but for them to snap back and respond just after they score to tie, for us to come in and score two goals in the next 6 minutes, that's pretty special. Pretty special.
I'm looking in my text chain because I had a question for you about what success means. Here it is. So if Arteta
Mm,
ends up managing for Arsenal for a total of 9 years, and in that 9 years he wins an FA Cup, one FA Cup, one Premier League title, a couple of Carabao Cups, and a Champions League. Is that a successful 9 years for Arteta at Arsenal?
yeah, I think I had responded. I didn't particularly care much about the Carabao Cups. I want to see the Champions League. That's the one. That's the one I've never seen them win. I don't know that they ever have. I want to see that one. I want to see them lift that trophy.
We've never won the Champions League. We do have a European Cup. Everybody says like, "Oh, Arsenal doesn't have it." We do have one. We have the Cup Winners' Cup, and we were losing that game and came back to win, and nobody cares about that. And it used to be kind of the equivalent of
Of the Champions League.
sort of,
Right.
sort of.
Hmm.
But yeah, so that trophy haul in the Manchester City era of their corporate money, nation money
Sure.
spending is
Hmm.
exactly the trophy haul in the 9 years that Liverpool was run by Jurgen Klopp. And I always thought about Jurgen Klopp and Liverpool that they were good. They were better than that trophy haul. And the only thing that kept them from winning more was Man City because they got 97 points that year and finished second, which had never been done. 97 points would always be enough.
That is
And
bonkers to think about.
and year after year after year, they finished second place. And so where are we sitting now? Year after year after year, like this year might be that year. And it wasn't City, but it was Liverpool, this
Yeah, they're
time
just
if
having
it
a.
happens.
Mhm. And Liverpool are having a really special season right now. They're
I'm
having
I'm
a really
I'm looking
special.
forward to them coming back to the mean. We keep talking about that, and like we're sort of getting there because we're getting the 0.025 goals and we're not getting them necessarily against us. And
Yeah,
they're getting some luck here and there where, fouls aren't getting called, penalties are going their way instead of the other way, things like this. But I think everything eventually comes back to the mean, and we're seeing it in our case to some degree already. The red card getting rescinded. We won that game anyway.
sure.
I I, I think that there's optimism. There's always a chance that they're going to fall back to the mean a little bit, and then we go. Rebecca Lowe said this is the largest win against the Sinners in over 22 years. So what a great time to do it.
All right. Good one. Yes.
I didn't know it, but that's all the time we have.
All right. All right, folks.
That's what happens when I talk too much. We'll see you soon.
See ya.